Do you know someone who might be in the gray zone with alcohol consumption? That's where it's not yet a glaring problem, but it's quietly affecting their health, their happiness, their work, their relationships. Or perhaps you know someone who has given up alcohol, but they're still struggling a little bit. They kind of miss it. If this resonates at all, this episode is for you. So today we're diving deep into the personal subject of how to retrain your brain to walk away from alcohol without missing it. As today we're joined by our expert guest, Kathryn Traff. So if you're ready to explore this topic in a supportive and inspiring way, stay tuned. And remember, it's not about judgment, it's not about labels. This is about empowerment. So, welcome to Momentum Maker Podcast. I'm awesome Angie Ingstrom, honoring the awesomeness in you.
And I'm Gita Hotgard. And once again, a big welcome, Catherine. We are so thrilled to have you here today. So welcome.
Awesome, Angie. Awesome, Gita. It is awesome to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to talk to your audience because this is such an important topic.
It is. It's such an important message, and I'm just thrilled to share it with the world. So yeah, thank you for joining us.
I am delighted.
Okay, for those of you who don't know Catherine, let me do a short bio. Now, Catherine is an alcohol exit strategy expert, and she has worked more than 17 years in neuroscience, including at prestigious institutions like the Maya Clinic and Stanford. And now she has pivoted into entrepreneurship to help women out of gray zone drinking and into the healthiest and happiest versions of themselves, using her Revive methodology that blends neuroscience, mindset work, and faith practice. And Catherine also functions as a brain health mentor. So I can't wait to dive into it. So once again, welcome, Catherine.
Thank you, Gita. That was a terrific bio. Thank you. It so accurately sums up exactly the mission I'm on. It's a vocation, not just it's just not an entrepreneurial endeavor. It's a real and true vocation that I'm on.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I can't wait to hear your story. So first of all, give us about a 10-second version of like what is your business?
Mhm. So what I do is I help women who are around that midpoint of life, driven professional women, walk away from alcohol and not miss it. And what the reason I'm focusing primarily on this group of people is I used to be that person. I used to have a gray zone drinking problem. And when I'm talking about a gray zone drinking problem, I mean, in our culture, we're told you have no problem or you have a problem that's so bad that you have to go to rehab or to a 12-step program. But I found myself in this middle area and I just gave it the term gray zone. And I didn't know how to stop. I knew I wanted to stop, but I just kept getting lost in this place. And I didn't want to go to rehab. I didn't want to go to a 12-step program because I didn't want labels. I didn't want to go to meetings. And I knew I wasn't at that place yet. But I knew if I didn't do something now, that I would end up in that place. And so I specifically work with these women because I view it as my mission to be the safety net, the emergency brake, so that you never, ever get to that point.
Wow,
Beautiful.
that's so wonderful. Oh my goodness. I'm excited to hear like how did that end up, get becoming this business? Like that's what a
Mm-hmm.
journey.
Yeah. It truly started with the worst day of my entire career. It was a 17-hour day in the operating room working with neurosurgeons who were a bit difficult to work with, shall we say. And what ended up happening was the day was so long and things were happening at such a pace in such a rapid fire situation. I literally had no time to drink that day, and it turned out to be my day one in my alcohol free journey in my life. And do you want me to describe for you a little bit more what
Yes,
what that
please.
was? Okay.
Sure.
So a typical day for me before I did what I'm doing now is I'd usually get up about 4 o'clock in the morning And I'd head to the hospital. It would be a different hospital every day. And I worked, as Geeta said, I worked in prestigious academic institutions like Mayo Clinic, Stanford, primarily with neurosurgeons, neuroscientists. And the kind of work that I did was primarily in brain surgeries, and they ranged anywhere from putting kind of a pacemaker technology into the brain for Parkinson's patients. It ranged all the way up to tumor removal. And the reason I was with all those surgeons was I didn't touch the patient, but I ran some very sophisticated equipment, kind of like a GPS for brain surgery. I ran that equipment for them and some imaging equipment to help accurately and precisely target the areas that the surgeons needed to target. So it was a thrilling career. It was a demanding career. And it was also a career that I had completely wrapped my identity up in. I didn't know who I was outside of the work. And in order to deal with that demand and the schedule and the pace, because I worked on the surgeon's schedule, I didn't make my own schedule, I ended up having a brain and a mind that was racing all the time. I couldn't figure out a way to slow it down. And so what I ended up doing was using alcohol essentially as self-care, as a tool to turn my mind down and turn my mind off, because it was hard to sleep at night. It was hard to get my muscles to relax. And I think anybody who's had a glass of wine after a long day knows that the first thing that happens is your muscles start to relax. And so that day, that 17-hour awful, awful day, was the place that finally got me to where I woke up and said, I can't do this anymore.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And when you mean can't do this anymore, meaning drinking or working in that environment?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both. But I understood that I couldn't give up both things at once. So what the decision that I made was, okay, I have done the hard part, the day one. The day two, I was too tired from the 17-hour day in the operating room to have anything to drink, so I didn't have anything else. On day three, I got home from a very long day in the operating room. There was nothing in my house to drink, and I sat there on my sofa staring out the window, trying to decide, is this the time to do this? I already have a 3-day streak going. Previously to that, I had never gone a day without drinking anything. And I want to dial it back just a little bit here and share with you that I never drank more than, if I had surgery the next day, I never drank more than 2 glasses of wine. If I didn't have a case the next day, it was 3 glasses of wine. It was never big volumes, but it was every day for years. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about a gray zone drinking problem. So I'm sitting there, I'm staring out the window going, the last time I put together any kind of streak, it was during COVID. I stopped for 30 days because I knew if I started, maybe some of you remember a lot of videos were out there on social media about people day drinking, and they were hilarious at the time. They're not hilarious anymore. I knew I would never come back if I started that. So here I was on day 3 going, you've started the hard part with the day 1. What are you going to do? Because I thought maybe I just need to go to the store and get something. As I went back and forth, for the first time in a long time, I heard Holy Spirit tell me, now is the time. And I knew the truth of that. I absolutely knew the truth of that. And then in his grace and his mercy, he showed me what my life would look like if I didn't walk away from the job, if I didn't walk away from the alcohol. I was 55 years old. I was in a new city. I was in a new state. And I understood I was at extreme risk. I had very high blood pressure. I was at extreme risk for a stroke or maybe some kind of cardiovascular event. And there was nobody around me. I didn't know anybody. Right? Remember, I'm working all the time. I'm at the hospital all the time. I haven't had time to make friends. So in that moment, when Holy Spirit showed me what my life looked like, I'm like, I have to do this. I have to do this. So I got to work and I started looking for some help. And maybe I'll take a pause here and find out if you have any questions for me, because I'll just keep going.
Keep
Your
going.
story is
Yeah.
fascinating. I think this is
Okay.
wonderful. And I love the Holy Spirit piece too, because that's a whole conversation in and of itself. You
It,
know,
it,
what do you
Mhm.
mean you heard from the Holy Spirit? That's a
I
whole
Mhm.
get,
nother
I get lots of
conversation.
those questions. I get a lot of those questions.
Yeah.
I think the important thing to continue about the story is if we go back to in the beginning when I talked to you about, what's the gray zone? You have no problem. You have a problem so bad you have to go to 12-step program or rehab. I sat there on day 3 after I made the decision, okay, we're not doing this anymore. And I sat there and I was typing. How much is too much? What's available for people like me? Like endless Googling about what kind of help was available for me. And everything that came up was this rehab program, everything was geared to people who had a much more serious problem. And I thought,
Mhm.
I just was shown that that's my future, and I don't want to get to the future. It's kind of like if you think of the movie the Christmas Carol, and Scrooge being shown his future, and he makes the change. That's how I felt. So I thought, okay, I've got to figure this out. And thanks to the Holy Spirit, I came across this young woman had put together a 6-week course online, and I enrolled in the course. And it was mind opening to me because she presented the thing that was so appealing to me in my nerdy neuro geek brain was she went through all the new information, health data. This company and this woman are based in the UK, and she went through an enormous UK study. It's sent shockwaves around the world about this. This is such an important study that the amount of alcohol to drink, the safe amount, is 0. It's a class 1 carcinogen. It's a neurotoxin. This enormous study that they did was more than 1 million people, found that there was no safe level, there was no benefit. And Angie and Gita, you probably have, we came up in a time where we were told, have a glass of wine, it's good for you, especially the red wine. And it's just inculcated into our health regimen, right? These things are good for you. It turns out they're not good for you. They're not good for you at all. And so that course woke me up, and I thought, I can't ever go back. I can't go back there. But how, but then I started looking into the future. I'm like, how am I going to do it? What about this situation? What about when I go to the wedding or my friends ask me? I was driving myself crazy with all the questions. And I thought, okay, I, I need some help here. And I hadn't really paid attention to my faith at that point. So I really started working on my faith practice. I'm a Catholic convert. I just started digging into things again around when I would start having those cravings about how do I handle this? Who does God say I am in these moments, right? I'm telling myself I'm this person, but who does God say I am? So I've got the brain data, I've got the health data, I've got the piece of instead of coming home and opening a bottle of wine and turning my mind off, I sat down and I watched maybe a video clip of Joyce Meyer, if anybody knows who Joyce Meyer is, or I opened up my Bible, or I opened up a video, an inspirational video. And the most miraculous thing happened is I discovered the cravings only last anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. And if I distracted myself with something positive like that, cravings were gone. Cravings were gone.
Mm.
So that's the neuroscience, and the faith piece, and the mindset piece came later.
Wow. Oh, I love
I,
it.
I, yeah, I was just gonna say I love this combination of faith and brain and mindset is coming and yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that last part. And I'm also looking forward to hearing. I hope you're going to be talking about how you eventually took that and created some kind of process for other people.
I did. So I'll finish up the story, and then I'll talk to
Mm?
you about what I was able to develop for myself. So what after I got through the course, I understood that, okay, I understand the health piece. I've developed the piece around faith, and those two things are working. But I still had this mean girl in my head She was so judgmental about so many things. And now that my brain was clear, that I wasn't pouring poison into it on a daily basis, I was asking a lot of new questions about what's important to you. Why do you think the way you think? Why does the mean girl show up? And I really started doing some homework around mindset and personal growth. I had stayed away from those kinds of things, for a lot of my adult life, because I always associated them with business, right? It how to sell more, et cetera. And that wasn't interesting to me. So now that I was discovering more of the mindset work and the personal growth work, I thought, wow, what happens if I put these three things together? Because if I'm tackling these limiting beliefs that I have and these patterns of behavior, I understand how the brain works, and why, why the cravings come up, and how to deal with those kinds of things. So what would happen if I put these three things together? And what happened was, I've gone almost 4 years now. I've never had a slip up. And it took me probably about to the 6 month mark. I got to the point of, I don't care if I ever have a drink again. I want to be clear. I never tell myself I'm never drinking again. I've never, ever put that limit on myself. What I ask myself is, knowing what I know, would it be even remotely worth it to indulge? And the answer is always no. The answer is always no. So what happened as I was having this success is, people in my circle started seeing that I was having the success, and they were inspired by it. And they said, "Oh, we want to try too." But they were stop, start, stop, start. They weren't having the success that I did. So they said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I explained it to them. And then I realized at that point, oh my goodness, I think I can build a mission driven business out of this. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have to go back to medicine. I don't have to go back to that kind of schedule. What if I built a business that's serving people now? Because I was serving people before and I loved it so much. But I thought, what if I did this, but I could have my own schedule and help people with what I learned for myself. So I made the decision to start a coaching business, and I came up with the name of Revive, which is an acronym for the methodology, how I walk people through it. And the rest is history. Here I am.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. So could you tell us a little bit about that acronym? What is that process? So
So the first letter R,
okay.
reassure, right?
Reassure.
Because so many women feel like they're on their own, right? That nobody else has this problem. And so my whole goal is to reassure them they're not alone. There's nothing wrong with them. They just need some really good information and some tools to get started.
Nice.
Yep.
All right.
So, so the E in Revive is for
Mhm.
empathy.
Empathy.
Yep. Because one of the things that I found when I would tell people I'm not drinking anymore is, a lot of times people would say, "Oh, yep, that's great. That's fantastic." Or they would say, "Why are you doing that? Do you have a problem? Do you have a problem? Did you get a DUI? Did you get in a car accident?" Right? It was those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So I let these women know that I've been where you are. I have empathy for where you are. So let's move forward together.
No, that's super important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So revive,
Yep.
reassure, empathy, and now we're
Yep.
on V.
Yep. For vitality, because if you've been like I was, if you've been in this kind of behavior pattern for years, your skin looks terrible. You're not sleeping very well. You're probably vitamin deficient. You have no vitality. So when you remove that and you've got empathy from somebody, and you've got someone who's on your side, who's been where you've been, and you start doing the things that I recommend doing, the vitality starts coming back, and it provides its own motivation to keep going.
That's brilliant. Okay.
Better
Wonderful.
health. Amazing.
Yep.
Okay. Reassure, empathy, vitality.
Vitality. Yep. The I is for how do I want to say it? It's mostly integrity, right? Because when you get to a certain point, you have to keep choosing you. And I can't do any of these things for you. And so the clients I work with, I like to make sure that they are really, really clear on their why. So I have them sign a pledge about integrity, about I'm going to give in the 12 weeks that we work together, I'm going to give you everything that I have to get to this point.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you guys are all taking notes. Like this is fantastic. So we've got reassure, empathy, vitality, integrity. Next
Mm-hmm.
letter.
Wait a minute, I'm losing track. I'm
Uh,
having so much fun with you guys. I'm losing track of where we were.
if we're spelling revive, it would be a V.
Yeah, the second V.
So
I love
V
it.
is for victory. Thank you.
Victory.
Victory.
It's like,
Oh,
does
yeah.
Kathryn know what her own program is? I promise I do. I promise I do.
Oh,
Okay, so yes,
absolutely.
for victory, because as you start getting the tools built in your toolbox, you start understanding the way your brain works. You start understanding how to get rid of the shame, the blame, and the judgment around, anything that's happened before in your life. You you can start claiming some real and some serious victory in your life. And that brings me to the last letter, E, for empowerment. So when you move through all those steps and you've got a mind that works, you're sleeping well, your vitality is back, you're making new goals for yourself, you're empowered to go out and start tackling the other things in your life that need your attention, that maybe you've been shoving off into the closet somewhere because it was just easier to open the bottle of the wine and have a glass of wine and have the mind turn off and the muscles relax.
Oh my gosh, that is brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. That is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I assume you've got maybe share one or two of your favorite success stories with one of your clients.
Sure, sure. If you don't mind, I'd like to share a success story with a client who is actually atypical.
Okay.
And by that, I mean, she came to me she had about 9 months of sobriety. She's been white knuckling it on her own.
Mm.
And she said to me, I don't need help with that because I already quit. And I said, well, what would you need me to help you with? And she said, I still miss it. And so I walked her through. We recently started working together, but and the reason I'm bringing her up now is because she's a current client, but I had somebody like that previously. And it's fascinating to me that there are people out there who can stop on their own sometimes, but it's a daily battle and they still miss it. And they really are at risk for falling back into the behavior that they did before because it just wears you out. Right. If you're constantly battling with yourself of, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. People are putting stuff in your face and you don't have a pleasant, fun way to address it. You don't have a strategy. It's a battle. And so as she and I were talking, I got talking to her a little bit about tell me when you are in a social situation, what's happening there? And do you have a strategy for how to handle it? No, I don't have that. In fact, I just stay home and I stay in. And what I love working about with her is she's bound and determined that she doesn't want to go back to the way that she was living her life previously because it just doesn't serve her anymore. And she knows there's more that she's capable of doing. But she had never had anybody talk to her about, do you understand how the brain works? Do you understand where the cravings come in? Do you understand what are the kinds of things that you can do to interrupt the cravings? I asked her if she's a woman of faith. She is. And I said, would you be willing to, in addition to learning these things about the brain, would you be willing to incorporate a faith practice with that so that you can merge the two sources of knowledge together? And she said, yes, that's great. And we also started doing, she had never heard of things like limiting beliefs or patterns that develop in your brain because of your limiting beliefs. I said, would you be open to working on that? So we've been working together now a little while. And I got to tell you, she's an A+ student because she's taking each of those pieces that I'm giving her and she's running with it. And when we get on the calls, I always like to start with wins. I said, okay, what are your wins since I talked to you last week? And she's just rattling off this list of wins for me about I'm sleeping better, and she hasn't lost weight, but she's losing inches. The puffiness is coming down. She used to have problems with reflux in her esophagus. That's gone. So her skin's better, right? So all the surface things are kind of showing up for her right now, and she's thrilled because she's not battling anymore, right? And the thing that I love about watching her and watching my other clients is I stayed in my previous job working with neurosurgeons too long because I didn't believe that there was work I could do that would give me the same sense of purpose as what I was doing then. And what I can tell you is when I'm working with these clients now, it's not even close anymore. This is the most rewarding work I've ever done in my life.
Oh, that I love that story. That is wonderful. If you're listening right now and any of this is resonating, oh my gosh, thank you for being here and for listening.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a
Yeah,
couple more.
and for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for
I
sharing.
was just gonna say I really applaud your openness. It's so helpful for so many people who
Yeah.
have problems like that. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you
What
so
Mm-hmm.
much for
what
doing
you
that.
just shared is going to help a ton of people. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
thank
is.
you.
That's I got to be honest with you, ladies. I have been working primarily off referral for the last 18 months. And this year, Holy Spirit told me, I don't, if for anybody who maybe doesn't know the story, there's a story in the Bible. The disciples are on the fishing boat, they're at sea, storms raging, Jesus is walking across the water, and Jesus tells Peter to get out of the boat. And Peter's like, I don't know about that because I might sink, right? And the storm's raging, right? And I was doing a workshop at my parish about what I do. And a gentleman came up to me afterwards and he said, Kathryn, you need to get out of the boat. And in that moment, I understood the Holy Spirit was talking to me through this gentleman, and I knew the truth of it. I knew that I couldn't keep just working off referral anymore. I had to be out there. I had to share my story. I had to be visible because there are millions of women, especially in my age group, who are exactly where I used to be. And I know exactly what they're going through. And it's my job, it's my ministry to get out and to share my story so that people understand there is something you can do about it. You never have to get to that point of something disastrous happening or your health being completely wrecked before you do something. You can do it now. Now is the time.
Mm. And you said something earlier too about just that knowledge piece. Humans need that knowledge piece.
Yeah.
And there's very few people that, like you, that are trained to even understand to the depth that you have to be able to help them through that in so many
Mm-hmm.
ways. So I just want to amplify that for a moment.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you bring up an excellent point that I really want to hammer home to everybody listening is we tell ourselves all kinds of stories about who we are, and we end up in a place of shame, blame, or judgment. And when you understand the way the brain works, why it works the way it does, because our brain really is just an organic supercomputer, and its programs get installed in it all through our life. And a lot of it happens in our formative years when we don't have the capability to push back and go, wait a minute, I don't know that that's true. We just accept the truth of it, right? And it goes into our subconscious. And when you understand that thanks to neuroplasticity, which means your brain can make new patterns and new pathways in the brain at any time of your life, even in your very elderly years, it gives you a sense of freedom. It takes away the shame, it takes away the blame and the judgment around yourself. You can kick mean girl out of your head and go, nope, I'm not thinking that way anymore. I'm not doing that way anymore. Kathryn has shown me the steps I need to take to build new patterns, that serve me. And I can break free from the other ones. And I don't have to live that way anymore.
Ah,
Hmm.
fighting words. Love it.
So great.
Love it. Go ahead,
Now,
Giddy.
now, yeah, I was just gonna say, I really love this revive model you created, and I love the description you were talking about. You can do this by yourself, but you really have to keep clawing every day and just yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
working. So to me, if anybody out there is having that kind of problem, I would definitely call you. So, what holds people back when they don't?
I'm sorry, Geeta, I didn't hear you.
What holds people back from
What
working
holds
with
people
you?
back? Okay.
Yeah.
The what I've found is on the one-on-one conversations, because that's my favorite thing to do is to have one-on-one conversations with people, is they share with me they're convinced that they will miss it and they don't know what to do in social situations, how to handle things. And so what I help them with is we sit down before we ever work together. We just have one-on-one conversation. Let's just talk. And what I share with them is some of the tips and the strategies that I used in the days when I was trying to turn myself from a drinker to a non-drinker around how to handle situations. And then if they make the decision to work with me, we go through it more in depth. But I give them upfront, because this is a vocation and a ministry for me, I give them upfront some tips and tricks and tools about try these things first. If you find success, then you know I know what I'm talking about and you can come back and talk with me.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
wonderful.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Kathryn, thank you so much for sharing today. We've covered a lot. Is there anything else that you want to make sure gets recorded in today's interview?
The thing I really want to hammer home for anyone who is watching this and you're on the fence, maybe you're one of those people who are like, I'm kind of holding back. I want you to understand that whether you have a gray zone drinking problem or there's another area in your life of a pattern that's no longer serving you, now is the time to deal with it.
Mm, do it
Hmm.
now. Do it
Do
now.
it now. Nike, just do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're listening right now and this is resonating at all, I want you to open up a tab on your browser and go to a URL that Kathryn's going to share with us right now. What
Mm-hmm.
should listeners do next?
So it's the first word. I want you to go to my website because you can find out more about what I do there. You can schedule a complimentary 60-minute session with me, find out more about what working with me looks like. And there's also a little bit of information if you are somebody who thinks, I would like Kathryn to come speak to my group. There's a way to contact me to come and speak to your group as well. But that's the best place to go. And the name of my website is Revive, just like my program, Sober, SOBER, Spirit.
revivesoberspirit.com.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And if
Wonderful.
you
And
want to find me
it'll
on
be
socials, yeah, I'm
and
sorry, Angie, I stepped
yeah,
in.
we'll put all this in the show notes, but we wanted to
Okay.
make sure that if this is resonating at all for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to Kathryn. Kathryn, thank you so much for being here today. I mean, this has been very fascinating. I love knowing that people like you exist in the world, that you're filling such a beautiful gap. And like you said, it's Holy Spirit led. So, of course, anyone that gets around you in your circle, they're going to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah,
just no way around
I,
it.
I I have to tell you the reason I love what I do so much is the people I work with and the watching them come into their breakthroughs because of the Holy Spirit brought them to me
Hmm.
and having us work together. But they take ownership and they get their power back. And one breakthrough at a time, they completely remake their lives. And it is the most rewarding work. So I love it.
Awesome.
I
Go ahead,
love
Giddy.
this mission you're on. Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Catherine. It's been a true blessing having you here today. So thank you.
I have
Uh,
been absolutely delighted to talk with both of you. And so thank you for making me look good. Appreciate that.
You are so
All right,
welcome.
That's not
And
hard. Yeah,
and
you're doing, yeah, oh my
it's
gosh, Kathryn, it's
exactly,
beautiful what you're doing.
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I appreciate the terrific
Thank you.
questions, so that we can really get the message out there to anybody who's on the fence about, should I do it now? Yes, you should do it now.
Yes.
Do it
Do it
now.
now.
Do it now.
Exactly. Do it now. So, once again, thank you for joining us today, Catherine. Let's wrap it up, Angie. I'm Kira Adkar.
And I'm Awesome Angie, honoring the awesomeness in all of you. And thank you for listening to the Momentum Maker podcast. So keep your momentum, keep moving forward. And if you happen to be a course creator or an entrepreneur spending too much time selling one-on-one on the phones and you're ready to condense time and sell one to many, that's the work that Geety and I do. So open up a tab on your browser and go to elitevirtualstages.com/blueprint and learn how you can turn your expertise into money, 6 and even 7 figures, doing live transformational virtual masterclasses. That's what Geety and I do. So once again, Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for the privilege.
Blessings.